Very, very nice.
High five.
High fives.
Not.
That's a nice sound capture. Oh shit.
What the fuck do you guys want?
Yay!
I don't want
The three amigos are here.
Jesus Christ.
Hello.
Now's not the time to get a hold of me.
Why?
This is now.
Oh, Bobby, look so beautiful you do.
No.
Yeah, thank you.
This is now the Nintendo Drive. That's what this is.
Yeah. What the fuck, man? Anyway, what the fuck am I being called to this call for?
Hey, everybody, it's Barry here. Welcome back to our podcast show. Bobby, this is actually a podcast. I'm not even messing.
Yeah, he's not. Seriously, he's not messing.
Well, that stuff better get cut out. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, of course. Hey, everybody. Maybe I'll leave the intro bit. Like, what the fuck? But yeah.
Wait. What are we doing? What is going on here?
Basically, okay, since it's brand new information for you, we are talking about Jules and his newly revealed Switch game. Xeodrifter. Yes.
Newly revealed to who? You guys.
Well, to the public, yeah.
Okay.
So basically, okay, guys, if you don't know, okay, Bobby, I'm not going to say anything that you or you, Justin. Okay, I personally haven't been told about what he's bringing to Switch. Okay, but guys, if you go to his page, go onto his Twitter page, right? Look at his bio. What 3 games has he got mentioned on it after Mutant Mudds? That's what I think is coming to Switch. The first one is Xeodrifter. That's right there. Just revealed, right?
Why am I being brought into this, man? I got insider info, man. I can't be...
I know. That's fine.
That's
but Bobby,
why you're bringing me in, because you want me to confirm stuff.
No. You are here because you are a friend of the Nintendo Impact Gaming podcast show, and you're my friend, most importantly.
Okay. Is that what it is?
You're my baby Bobby.
That's how it was. I was the only one that was online. And you were like, all right, get on here.
Where is it's like Skype now, bitch. Love heart.
Yeah.
Where are you? Yeah, guys. Okay, this is I guess more directed at Justin because I want to see what Bobby's kind of reaction to this is now. Chicken Wiggle. Do you think it's going to come?
Do I think Chicken Wiggle is going to come to the Nintendo Switch? I am 110% confident that Chicken Wiggle will, and here's why. And it's not like insider information.
Oh yeah, of course.
I just truly believe that when you spend as much time as he did, and I'm going to ask a question: are we recording already, Barry?
Oh yeah, always.
Okay.
When do we start recording? You're going to tell us
I didn't realize if you had the
that's
Chris
typically
article.
how you start. Like you typically start the show and you go, okay, we're going to start recording now, and then here's the intro, and then let's go.
He's already getting the good stuff. So here's my thought.
Yeah.
I think when you devote as much time as Jules did to something like Chicken Wiggle, to the development like he did, and it to not have, I think, the level of success it had on the 3DS, which we're quite honest, it didn't do as well. He was very open about that. I think you've already got that time and energy committed. And he was on NBC even just a couple of weeks ago, and he mentioned like, "Hey, it didn't sell as well. The 3DS is kind of dead in that market. I need to be able to move my resource." And I think when you can move a platform or a game like he did, Mutant Mudds over to the Nintendo Switch, he's had success on it, at least from I think a social media perspective, from what we've seen. Obviously, I don't know what his bank account looks like or the details in that perspective, but it sounds like he's had success. A lot more coverage. I think it just logically makes sense for him to move over existing content that he has. It's kind of that, and I don't want to make it sound like it's a snap of the fingers, right? But a lot of the developers we've talked to, and I was talking to Tommy from Meat Boy recently, and he said that like when he got the dev kit for the Switch, it took him like less than 2 days, I think it was, to get Super Meat Boy running on the Nintendo Switch.
That's insane,
right? So it doesn't sound like there's a lot of I don't want to say effort because effort's already there, but it doesn't sound like it's a lot of technical prowess, like where the Wii U was a bit of a.
It's okay. So here's the thing: it's not hard to get it up and running.
Yeah.
The part what's happening is they're getting it up very quickly. It's not an issue. Like Joint Games, they had Zombie Vikings running in a day, right?
Yeah.
So they're getting the games up there very quickly, but then what's taking the time is they're actually they're starting to implement things. HD Rumble, all that stuff. That's what's taking the time because they're also putting, because you look at what Jules did with Mutant Mudds and you're like, okay, on the outside, it's like, oh, you just took 3 games, you slapped it together, whatever. They changed Bomb Monkey completely, reskinned the whole game, so that took time. And then they took Mudds Deluxe and Super Challenge and put HD Rumble in it all. And it's to the point where it's different levels. You know what I mean? Like, I use an example, like the rocks that keep jumping back and forth, 4-screen, back screen. Like, when you're far away from them, you know, when you're far away from them, it's like all of a sudden as you get closer, it starts hitting harder and harder and harder, and that shake is you're feeling it. So that's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, and I guess it's a good point, Bobby. I guess my commentary is like the frame of it, the meat and potatoes of it gets up relatively quick. There's definitely a lot of work that they're putting in afterwards, but again, you know, as opposed to start from scratch, if you've already got 60-70% of that done, and there's 30% retooling. From a business perspective, right? And let's think of it. This is a game developer at Atooi and Jules who rely on funds, rely on money, and have a business to run. That's an easy lift, right? That's a relatively easy lift for them to do. So, do I think that Chicken Wiggle would be coming to the Nintendo Switch in 2018 or in the future? I think it's illogical. I think it's highly logical for him to do it. It makes sense. I think, you know, from what we even saw of Chicken Wiggle beforehand, this seemed like a real passion he had, right? I remember feeling very gutted the day after he announced Chicken Wiggle. Nintendo comes out on a 3DS and was like, and here's Mario Maker. And he's like, I just literally like 24 hours ago said, here's Chicken Wiggle, and it has a level maker. You guys are dinks. And to be honest, though, Chicken Wiggle did it better than Mario Maker.
Way better than Mario Maker. Dude, it's not even just you like, here's the thing.
Mario Maker for the 3DS, let me clarify that one.
Yes. Well, I would even go as far as to say, like, even original Mario Maker.
Oh, yeah.
Because here's the thing. Like,
big time.
You take the idea of, like, here, we're building the level, right? But not only that, like, they go, like, here's your normal levels you play where you're going and you're helping chicks escape. They're going, like, no. Here's all these different modes that you can make on the levels. And we're going to throw leaderboards on there. And you can put, not hashtags, but, like, you can basically, like, keyword your level. So that way other people can find them. And then you get a code and you pass it out. And it's, like, so much better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The only reason, look at, if you rip that Mario skin off of those games, I don't think anybody blinks an eye at them. And that's probably a bold statement. I shouldn't say that, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, like, that's what I feel like. I feel like there's nothing truly special about it other than the fact that it's a Mario game. We've all wanted to make Mario levels all of our lives. That's what so when I look at Chicken Wiggle, I go, wow, they didn't just do one thing. They did a bunch of things. You could put different music in it. Like, you could actually set the music. Can't do that in Mario Maker.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, my statement there is I think he spent a ton of time, a ton amount of energy, resourcing to get to where it was. He was very transparent, and then for it to not go as well. I mean, I think he recognized, and I think that it's a good idea, and that people have an appetite for it. But unfortunately, the timing of when it dropped versus where the zeitgeist was in relation to the consoles, it makes sense. It should go over. And I think, you know, Barry, even if we want to just call out your commentary here, you know, this week you put out a post on Twitter, basically the Nintendo Switch with the image on top of it, and like people blew their minds, thinking that was legit and real. A ton amount of retweets. I'm sure to a point where Jules was probably like, "Okay, seriously, I think someone just leaked something for me potentially," or you know, waiting to let the cat out of the bag.
But here's the thing, you know, because when Muds first, he announced Muds with the picture, the same way he did Xeodrifter today, it got a boatload of retweets. But those retweets need to transition into dollars. That's what it boils down to. Like, I get the fact, because here's the thing: like, are you just retweeting just to retweet? Or are you really interested in the thing? And that's what you got to ask yourself. And I'm not saying that like you owe it to him to go buy the game after you retweet it. I'm not saying that at all. But I think when you look at that and like what you're asking, you're like, hey guys, if you really want this, help me. Let's retweet it. Like, in that aspect, you're basically saying, like, if you really want this, retweet it, and then it shows the developer there's some interest in it, but then you got to transition and buy the thing afterwards.
And I think the interesting thing that Jules did that I really appreciated as he rolled up to Mutant Muds now, I mean, I think all of us on this podcast here had bought Mutant Muds before. I mean, this for me, getting on the Switch was the third time I had purchased it. But what I really enjoyed him doing beforehand was him going out to Twitter and saying, like, hey, what do you think I should price this at? Right? He outsourced, he socialized his pricing schematics so that because I mean, we all do this, right? We go to the eShop, we take a glance at a game, and if it's a game that I've played before, I've seen before, you know, versus the other 15 to 20 other eShop games that are hitting, it needs to catch my attention. So when Jules can say, hey, by the way, you get 3 games with this,
Yeah.
3 games, one that's completely rescanned. It's very easily accessible. And by the way, for 2 weeks or whatever it was, or a week, you get it at like 33% off, less than a tenner.
Yeah.
To pick up these games. I mean, you're mad not to, right?
Yeah.
So I think as long as he continues that transparency and adds, I shouldn't say he always has to add something new to it, but I think to recapture someone.
Yeah.
And you're seeing this again. I mean, I'm going to go back to Meat Boy again. Meat Boy's coming out next week, or Super Meat Boy. The developers at Team Meat have added a new like race mode functionality, right? They looked at what they had and they said, how do we make it more accessible for the Nintendo Switch? And that's what Jules did here, right?
Yeah.
He looked at what he had and he said, how can I make it more accessible for the platform and where the zeitgeist and hype is right now? So he made those changes. I'm curious what kind of changes he could potentially make to Xeodrifter, because Xeodrifter was very much that kind of Metroidvania isolation by yourself. I don't really know what additional you could add to that. I'm sure he's got something in the back of his mind, probably maybe leaderboards or something different, but there's that. But I think there's a lot of potential there. Now, what we've talked about him obviously mentioning Xeodrifter today. He hasn't mentioned, I don't think, a price or a date yet.
Yeah.
He mentioned in a Twitter post following that very shortly after is that Treasure Knots. We'll hear more about Treasure Knots soon. I predict the Nintendo Direct in the next week or two, we might hear something about that. That's just my own personal prediction. But I've been excited for Treasure Knots. I think it's a great game. I love his kind of his art style. And then I think Chicken Wiggle is another obvious for him for the studio. So I don't know. I think it's good stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I again, going back, like when I look at it and I go, like with the pricing, I was, I'm not going to act like I was integral or whatever, but him and I had very candid, long conversations about the pricing. And I came at him and I was like, Jules, $20. Because he came to me and was like, we had a Skype call. We were on a Skype call. And he was like, what would you pay for this? And mind you, when he put it up, he just put the image. Nobody knew it was the collection. So he tells me, this is what we're doing. What would you pay for it? And I'm like, dude, $20. Because for me, I looked at him and was like, Super Challenge is 10, and then 5 and 5 in my mind. And he was like, okay, thank you. And I know that he had worked around a little bit and then came back to me again, and we had another conversation. And I was like, he's like, I'm thinking we're like 15. He goes, I would love to do 20. He said, but I just don't think the market's there for it. And I was like, dude, you're crazy. Do it 20, do it 20, do it 20. And then he was like, we'll see. And then he came to me again and he was like, I'm kicking around the idea of doing a loyalty program. So if you, Justin, and you, Barry, all three of us have bought the game previously, he wanted to say, like, if you bought the game previously, it's $10 for you. But Nintendo didn't have it set up in order to communicate with each other, so it couldn't do it. So that's when he came up with the idea of like, hey, if you buy it from here to here, it's this price, and then if you buy it afterwards, it's this price. Which, by the way, nobody else is doing that. Not a single person that's come. Like, dude, SteamWorld Heist just came out last week.
Yeah,
full price, $20 for that thing. Like that didn't offer no discount. Like, hey, buy it by this date and you get it at a cheaper price or whatever. Like, Stick It to the Man came out and that one didn't do it. Like, none of them have done this. This is the first time. That's the one thing that I can respect about Jules. Like, by the way, like SteamWorld Heist came to 3DS and to Wii U. There was no cross buy. Super Challenge, there was cross buy. One of the only games. I think there was 3 games total that did it. But he was one of the first and only games that was like, hey, if you buy it on the 3DS, you also get it on the Wii U. Like, that's unheard of. Like, Sony does it all the time. And people look at that and go like, why isn't there cross-buy on Nintendo platforms? And he did it. So it's like pretty – I think he's always trying to look out for us as the consumers and going like, what's the best bang for the buck? What can I do to like basically do this, So – I'm excited for Xeodrifter. If he brings Chicken Wiggle, I'm excited for that. I know he's bringing Treasure Knots because he's already talked about it on Nintendo Talk Live.
Yeah, it is public. He
went back and he discussed it. He showed, if you watched the episode, he actually holds up the Switch with the game playing on the Switch. So that was kind of cool to get that little sneak peek exclusive type of thing. Like, that was
now
cool
it's interesting.
that.
Bobby, did he mention is he gonna bring that to this 3DS also, or is that going to be a Switch exclusive?
I believe that is just Switch. In my mind,
that was originally a 3DS.
It was originally supposed to be 3DS.
Yeah.
It was originally supposed to be 3DS, yes, but in conversations, 3DS is dead. Like he got a bad taste in his mouth.
I wonder if he was further enough along down the trail that he was like, well, I'm going to just do a drop on both. Or
no, I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's more or less because with Chicken Wiggle, he got such a bitter taste in his mouth with that, and rightfully so. Like, that all was just bad timing, man. If you look at that storyline across the board, like, it was such bad timing. Like, he announces that NX isn't even out yet, right? So we don't even know what the NX is. We don't know what Switch is. We don't know it's a name, anything like that. He announces it. Next day, like you said, Justin, Nintendo announces Mario Maker for the 3DS. Then, by the way, it's such garbage, the version that Nintendo's giving, that he gets like another boost. Like, okay, and a few of the outlets were like, this is Mario Maker this is a true Mario Maker for the 3DS or whatever, you know? And so then he's like, okay, good, we're good. We're wide open. There's not a lot of games coming out, and then Switch gets announced. And it was almost instantaneously that the Switch hit and people just were like, 3DS what? And just disappeared. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if people don't do that, because think about it, like, typically when Nintendo or any console comes out, you have at least a year before, maybe 2 years before everybody kind of does that, like, okay, I'm done with this, I'm moving on. Typically, especially when only 2 million units hit of the Switch initially, you figure, oh, I got plenty of time.
Mm-hmm.
Chicken Wiggle comes out, and it was just like hit a brick wall.
Well, I think again that's a little bit of the fact that, I mean, really that Switch lives in two areas, right? Both being mobile and being home.
Yes,
it eats at lunch, right? I mean, I also still make the argument. I mean, this is getting a little bit away from the Jules conversation here, but the 3DS will still exist, and games will still come out in 2018 and probably 2019, and Nintendo will still put out SKUs of it, and everyone's going to raise their hands when someone's like, why is this not on the Nintendo Switch? Mm-hmm. Right? Because we do have to remember that the 3DS, there are more of those in the market than the Nintendo Switch, and that Nintendo is not going to throw all their eggs into one basket.
The thing is, it's not equating to sales, though. Like, I own 11 3DSs. So, you know what I mean? Like, and there's a lot of people. I'm serious. There's a lot of people. John Capri owns, I think, 14 of them. Nick Militia from Next Level Games, he owns every single 3DS that's ever come out. He owns every single special edition there is. So when you look at that, like, I have a Metroid one sitting on I haven't even opened it. It's still closed. I haven't even opened it up yet. So when you look at that, I go, I don't know about that, because even Metroid didn't sell. Metroid did 800,000 units. That's not very good.
But you have to remember, Bobby, and you are correct in that, but you also have to remember that there is a camp of individuals who are not purchasing the Nintendo 3DS, or sorry, not purchasing Nintendo Switch. They're purchasing their kids' first video game console, and they're purchasing at a low price of less than $100 for a new 2DS, the door-stop version, or the 150 for the new version, right, as opposed to Switch. So it's still a very viable market, and I would argue that the Nintendo 3DS probably has the best back catalog of any system that's out there.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So they will still continue to make it. And for Nintendo to pull all of their eggs out of the basket and just saying we're only on the Switch, with having a great first year. If you remember, the Wii U had a good first year, but then died basically after that, right? So we have a long tail on this. The Switch the 3DS will still have a couple of years left before.
Here's a question for you. Let me ask you this: at what point, though, do you feel there's some responsibility for Nintendo to help these developers?
In what way?
Okay, so with Chicken Wiggle, that game comes out the first week, right? And it's up against nothing. There's nothing on the 3DS at all. It doesn't even have a placement in the new games list, right? Week 2 comes out. It's not even listed again. So unless you know this game is coming out, you can't find it anywhere, right? Yeah. Week 3 it comes out. It's literally 15 tabs down, which means it's out of sight when you turn that thing on right away. So now it's 15 tabs down, and then week 4, it's not even on the list again. So my question to you guys is, and I have my own opinions, I don't want to really skew it or anything, but do you feel at any point like Nintendo owns a little responsibility for Chicken Wiggle not selling?
Oh, of course.
Well, the challenge I would say to that is, are there other, and I'm trying to play devil's advocate, right? So you're telling me there are 15 other tabs before I get down to Chicken Wiggle. Mm-hmm. Are there 14 other games that were released that week?
Mm-mm.
Right. So I think
there wasn't. So that's no.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that if there are 14 other games, then how do you prioritize, right? So that's my counter argument. A little bit of the current situation the Switch is in. There are 20 games. Here's the coming soon, right? So what do you do there? But when you have a flood of content, that's a hard thing to do. But when you have a drought, you have one or two games, you need to have like a out now or out this week tab essentially, or area where it just highlights those games. Is Nintendo responsible for it? I think they have to own part of it, right? I mean, ultimately Nintendo takes a cut of it as well.
Yeah.
Right. If Chicken Wiggle is successful, that's good for Jules. That's good for Chicken Wiggle, but that's also good for Nintendo. Like it's good for their pockets, right? So why would you not want to promote things that are benefiting you, right? Apple does it in their new apps, or they used to on the App Store, right, where they highlight those things to have the rolling banner. I think Nintendo does have to play a part in it. What part Nintendo plays and to what degree does their reach or their impact have? I think that's a good question. And I know that a great example this whole week, Jules has basically been asking NOA to at least give a retweet for his content that's out there, and nothing has happened, right? A lot of smaller indie podcasts like ourselves or indie supporters or just fans have been giving retweets, right? Which we're kind of like, hey, here's my 2,000 followers, here's my 5 followers. Hopefully this helps, right? But
we're not 8 million followers, and that's
exactly.
Where it's,
but we're not like. But how do you get that level of promotion? I think that Nintendo does hold some level of responsibility to that. I think Jules has, so to say, banged on that drum enough. He's done his due diligence, right? That I do think that it does rely on Nintendo to do something at some point. But then they would have, then my argument to that is, and they have to do that for every other single game that comes out also. So now you're doing 20 games every single week.
And I get that, and I totally get that. But my question is, well, then where do you determine that I'm going to do this game not once, numerous times? And by the way, this game is now in the best sellers list.
Well, I mean, and that is part of it. Like, where's I guess the loyalty, right? The longevity and loyalty, which I think is kind of the question you're asking, right?
Well, yeah, because when I look at it, the game Enter the Gungeon, I'll just say it, because Jules basically, he did say it on Nintendo Talk Live, was like Enter the Gungeon. They retweeted a couple times, and that was in the best sellers list. Now, Enter the Gungeon, that's what Digital Revolver. They haven't done anything with Nintendo.
Yeah,
Jules has been with Nintendo for years as Renegade Kids. So it's almost like, to me, it's like, well, where's your loyalties lie? Are you trying to just get the new shiny girl, to come over to the party, or are you with, are you you're just ignoring the person that's been there forever, like had your back all that time? Because newsflash, when the Wii U had nothing, you had Jules Watchum's game. You had Renegade Kids games on your console. So to me, it's like, where's your loyalties lie?
Yeah, I think it does boil down to public relations management and communications. And that's and I don't know whether Jules has a Nintendo PR rep that he gets to work with directly that can be like, hey, you need to be doing this, right? I need your help, or what the infrastructure of an organization looks like that way. But it definitely does feel probably a little bit odd at times, right? And especially when we know that Jules has supported Nintendo, and Nintendo has supported Jules in promoting their content before, and I think some of the directs, and so it does feel odd. But I mean, to your point, he's been there for a while and has some loyalty, much like great example, Imogen Forum, right? The September Direct led with Imogen Forum's SteamWorld 2 as an exclusive, right? That was a relationship that they have, and SteamWorld Heist is another great example of that. So we also unfortunately don't know the backdoor dealings, or the backdoor dealings that's going on between Jules and the rest of the organization. We know, you obviously know Jules, and we've seen him obviously on social media and content this way to make an opinion of him, which I think is solid. But we don't know if
Can I add
Jules,
as well?
Jules doesn't get promoted because he ran over the PR director's cat, Will.
No, and
to Redmond something, and for all we know,
I mean, I'm not, right? And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that, and I want to clarify something. I'm not trying to say that Nintendo owes anything to anybody at all. That's not my point. My point is, though, is how do you pick one game out of the lot to say, like, we're going to promote this company, we're going to promote this game, and then don't do anything to all the other guys? Yeah. Because, by the way, you're putting 20 games out a week. Yeah. You know, and I did a show or a video a couple of weeks ago now where I basically am saying, like, Nintendo, you need to do something to eShop. Like, this thing is a mess right now.
It is, yeah.
Like, literally, Mutant Mudds comes out, right? It comes out this week, and next week it's off the new releases. Mm-hmm. Like, it's buried 30 games down, and it's like, man, that's a travesty. Like, that's bad.
It's an interesting problem, right? When it's a tidal wave of content like we're currently getting, throwing a cup of water in it, just you don't see it. It just disappears, right?
Yeah.
But then how do you filter? How do you bring those things to the top? Because I can guarantee you, all those 20 other developers are going to say, "Why isn't my game at the top? Right? Why isn't my game at that banner? How do you do that better?" And I don't. To be honest, I don't have a good solution for them. Like, I think we've all raised our fist and shaken and said, like, "Damn it, Nintendo, fix this eShop." But I haven't heard a viable solution to a situation where we have 20 games hitting the eShop weekly.
My answer is simple. You go back to the Wii U eShop. Mm-hmm. And I don't know who's been there recently, but dude, it is sweet, man. It really is. Yeah. It's laid out perfectly. You have your top spots that you can sell advertising space to, right? Your top 6 spots are for advertisers. Then you have new releases. Then you have indie games, and then you have bestsellers. Dude, this bestseller says there's 348 games in the eShop right now, and the bestsellers list is 15. That's a travesty, man. Because to me, it needs to at least be 100. It needs to be at least 100 because you got to get down deep. Like, listen, if I went to the iTunes store, how many songs are getting released on a weekly basis or whatever, right? So if I'm going on there and I'm going like, okay, what's the new song? What are some of the new songs? And it's only 15 out of all those hundreds of thousands of songs. Like, that's just ridiculous. You have to have a bigger list. That's what I feel like. I feel like you need to have something, and even if they did a trending section, like maybe you look at social media and go, what's the games that are like people are all the buzz? Like Blossom Tales should have had its own, should have been right in our little section and been like, here's a trending game right now. Like talk about it's being talked about. Like, I look at this list, right, and I look at recent releases and I go through and like SteamWorld Heist is the first game on that list, but I'm curious where it'll be tomorrow. It'll either be at the bottom of this list or off this list completely. But like, I look at like all the games that came out last week, and there's nothing there. Like, you got to go down to find, like, Blossom Tales is down deep. Like, all these games are way down the list now, and it's like, man, guys, this is not good.
Which I think is interesting, because I think then what that's reliant on, and this is kind of an interesting thought, like when a game hits an eShop, has what I would call like a momentary blip, and then of basically a 7-day cycle, right? It has a 7-day burn cycle. It is now reliant on word of mouth, social media, and then kind of champions to resurrect that continually out of the, like, hey, by the way, this came out on the 21st. You need to go pick this up if you haven't. I think great example is Blossom Tale.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? That came out early Christmas or just before Christmas, and that's had a good conversation for 3 weeks. But you're right, like that's going to slip right off that list.
Yeah.
But if it's in the zeitgeist and the conversation, then people are going to continue to have that conversation to encourage people to go do it. But when you have big games, right, that are hitting every single week, that are I would call AAA indie games, that's a harder drum to bang on, right? Because everything is awesome.
And I almost wonder, and I don't think they can do this because I don't think the indie developers want to do this, but I wonder if that brand label, Nindies, if Nintendo should go in and kind of be like, if you're doing something exclusive for us, you'll get labeled with the Nindies label. Yeah. But if you're doing something where, because like, look, you guys know, Justin, you mocked me before how much I love Image and Form, but like SteamWorld Dig 2 wasn't an exclusive to the Switch. Like it hit on the Switch same day it went on Steam, and then then 2 days later it went on the PS4. So, like, is it necessarily a true Switch exclusive? Like they trumped it. It's almost one of those Phil Spencer things where it's like, hey, here's an exclusive, and then it's a timed exclusive.
Yeah,
it's not really like an exclusive. It's gonna, so that type of stuff is. I wonder, could Nintendo work that stuff and be like, hey guys, even if it's a timed exclusive, or you're bringing in an exclusive feature that's to us, you're working, like, I wonder if they can sign contracts, like almost like where they have like second party, like a retro studios. Yeah. Like if they started to sign some of these indie teams to go like, you're going to work exclusively for us, and we're going to fund your games, but you're going to do whatever you want to do, kind of like what EA does. You do whatever you want to do, but we're just going to make sure that this game goes from start to finish and gets out there.
I was talking to a dev not too long ago about it, and I mentioned the whole Nindy thing, and they mentioned, like, I hate that title. Like, I hate being called a Nindy, and I kind of mentioned some of the I guess the exclusiveness that Nintendo had made them sound, and he mentioned to me that they very quickly had a call, or their PR rep got on the line with Nintendo. Was like, we didn't agree to that, and I mean, we can do that. Mm-hmm. But if you wanted to send us a bigger check, then we can definitely do that. But you might have overstepped what you meant there, right? Mm-hmm. So I think there is, but I mean, it is interesting about what the branding is, right? I mean, and going back to this, Bobby, I give you a bit of a hard time with Image Inform. I love Image Inform as well; they're a fantastic group, but and they've got great content that comes out. But you're absolutely right, like. But to my impression, from an outsider perspective, as a Nintendo-only person, I was like, oh, good, SteamWorld Dig 2 is hitting Nintendo first. I love that, right? Yeah. And they do need to they need to get, seal up a couple of those exclusives as well.
Yeah.
Barry, going back to Jules, I guess, right?
Wow.
And what's going on right? But this is why Bobby and I don't have a podcast together.
Because we just go off. We start talking all this other stuff, man.
Chat.
I have a first-hand seat listening to you guys, so thanks.
Oh, this is sitting there like, this is wonderful. I'm looking at these two idiots just go off, man.
007.
But this is why we're great podcasters, because we just fill the voids. Like, I know when to talk, and he knows when to talk, and we just fill it up, man.
So what happens to me then?
You're just here. You're just here to moderate, man. You're here to record, to edit, moderate, and that's it, man.
Yeah. And delete.
What do you think? So Barry, what do you think? Do you think we're pretty much spot on? Are we going to see anything new from? Other than Treasure Knots from Jules, or do we think that or is it pretty square? We're going to get Zeo, Chicken Wiggle, and Treasure Knots.
Yeah, I think we will get those three. Chicken Wiggle, to me, it makes just so much sense because 3DS, it's a perfect fit for the bigger screen. So, like, to me, it's a dream to have Chicken Wiggle on the Switch because you have your your mobile aspect and you have your home console aspect. But I'm curious, as well, how will the the touchscreen, the creation elements work? D-pad or motion control, for talk's sake. Just curious what
I think I would assume that he's going to go D-pad, like not D-pad or touchscreen. You pull it out, you build your levels, with the thing, and then you dock it back in and go.
You think with the touchscreen?
I would think that would be the easiest way. Because think about it, that's how you do it on the 3DS. It's all touchscreen.
Yeah, I know, but I hate the touchscreen.
That's your problem.
I don't like fingerprints on my screen.
You say you don't like fingering what?
I constantly just rub the fingerprints out of my screen.
Wow. That's fine. Go buy a cleaner, man. Go buy a nice cleaner for those screens.
It just bothers me.
Go to Best Buy. Do you have Best Buy in Ireland?
No.
We have Worst Buy.
We don't have anything close to Best Buy in Ireland. Let me tell you that right now.
We have Tesco. We have Dunnes Stores. We have Aldi. We have Lidl. What else have we got?
These are grocery stores.
Yeah, you're talking grocery stores. We're talking gaming stores.
Yeah, they don't have any.
We feck all, to be honest. They've all gone down.
Also, but here's the other thing, too, is could he potentially make it where the Joy-Cons would be the controllers? Because World of Goo, you can move around and stuff and do stuff. Mm-hmm. So is it like a Mario Maker type thing? Well, Mario Maker was touchscreen as well. Yeah. But could it be a thing where you're actually pointing at the screen and moving stuff around? I wouldn't want to build something that way, but I mean, could it happen?
It's like a hand, for I don't know, Plantera. Have you got it, Justin Deluxe for Switch?
We did. Zach's got that code.
Right. Okay. So basically, since it was a handheld only game, now it's I know it's on Switch, but the game's been updated for TV now, which is pretty cool. So basically, just for the snow bit, like a snowball, like a cursor is moved around the screen. So that's the kind of feeling that I'll get from it, hopefully. Basically, sort of like a mouse, if you get me, on your your computer.
No, for sure. I wonder what other switchifications, I guess is the word I'm going to look there for. Could he end up making to Wiggle? Could you throw you could throw a 2-player in that one? Could you not?
That actually would be pretty cool.
Maybe not just a race mode, but some kind of like 2-player co-op, almost like a Banjo-Kazooie. Yeah. Like, hey, I'd be Wiggle, you'd be Chicken. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would work. I'm just trying to think of like how you'd
ask Bobby. I'm sure he knows what the exclusive.
I know.
He's keeping his mouth shut.
I don't know.
Listen, I have a friend, and I'm not losing that friend. So I am not. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know the Chicken Wiggle's coming, man. We're sitting here just throwing this out there.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee
the friendship, just like my friendship with him.
If you want the answer for Chicken Wiggle, call 007-373-5963.
That's the code to get to Mike Tyson, buddy.
Mike Tyson, it's impetuous, is it? Yeah.
Mike Tyson's Punch Out, baby, right there. No, I mean, I don't. To me, the only game that I know for sure that is coming is Treasure Nuts. Like, I know for a fact. Well, and Xeodrifter now. But other than that, like, I don't know anything that that anybody else knows already. Typically, when I find out stuff, it's like just before he announces it.
Yeah.
So like, I did know Xeodrifter, but I found out like not long.
I know it's easy to say, but I really want a Xeodrifter too.
Well, he did tease that on NBC.
Yeah.
I would like a Xeodrifter too, but a little bit bigger.
I'd like it kind of like a 16-bit, like a very I'd call it Super Xeodrifter, right? Like lean into that idea a bit more.
So here's a question, because I was having a conversation with Josh Thomas, right? We were having a private. I don't know that guy either. I was just talking to him.
Hi, Josh.
Just some guy showed up named Josh Thomas on my screen.
He loves clothes, by the way.
We were having a conversation, and it's like, do you think that perhaps the art style has ran its course? And do you feel like it's time for people to take a break with the pixel art?
Well, I would make the argument. So here's the thing: is I think with pixel art, especially pixel art, if done well, rings true to nostalgia. Yes. And nostalgia is something which is almost financially impossible to fully understand, but has a large profit margin associated with it. And I'm going to again associate, and here are my examples: Yacht Club Games and Shovel Knight. Blossom's Tale is a fantastic example of it, so right? So again, these are, and the amount of hype that everyone's like, why can't I get Mega Man, right? What we're doing is here's the thing. Ukulele, great example, right? We're chasing and here's the reality. We are chasing a thing we will never capture, which is, 1991 sitting in your shorts on a hot sunny day playing Super Metroid, drinking, Orange Crush, eating Doritos, and watching, Family Ties and Full House on telly, right? Like you can't chase it. And for those of you that are in Ireland, feel free to Google and reference all of that. You're welcome. But what happens is that you are now at a point where anything that feels like it, right, that touches on it enough, that brings you those feelings, you're immediately drawn to. So I don't think it's run its course. I think what you can do is you can now go from an 8-bit to a 16-bit, right? And I think that's enough for people to be like, oh, this is new. And you're like, no, it's not really. I just added 8 more bits essentially, but it makes them feel like it's new. Like you're almost like one generation ahead.
Yeah.
Of kind of
well,
like
maybe go 12-bit instead.
Yeah, possibly. But I don't think it's run its course, because I also think there's a lot of amazing now, basically, from where we were in the 80s, when it was just like learning how to do 8 bits, to now, 35 years later, the amazing stuff we can do with 8 bits, right? Like that's a different story altogether. I think the mastery of the craft and design, because people grew up and are passionate about it, has become so much better that there's so much more of a story to tell. And I fully believe Josh Thomas is wrong.
Who?
The reason why I say this, though, because the other day, just yesterday, I think it was, Jules retweeted an image from Nintendo Life, and it had like a really awesome picture of Max from Mutant Mud's cartoon look, and he was shooting his blaster.
Yeah.
And I retweeted it, and I was like, dude, this. You know, I don't even know what I said. And then Josh Thomas was like, man, if you put Mutant Muds in that art style, I'm all about it. And I was like, man, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I saw that picture of Max, and I thought the same thing. Like, I wonder if they can do that with something, you know.
But I think they probably could. But then my question is, how much longer does that take for production time?
Well, I agree. I agree that's going to take time to do and all that. But when I look at games like Wonder Boy, where it did that, where it flipped back and forth, you know, like would that be like a game like Mutant Muds? Would that have appealed to more people, like us, who like the traditional pixel art, would have gotten it? But I would have been like, hey, you know what? I could play in this new art style as well. Now, again, but what happens is Mud's Collection doesn't come out this year, if that's the case. I think Mud's Collection moves to a late 2018, early 2019 game. Yeah. And I don't think Jules was wanting to do that. I think he wanted to kind of get it out there as quickly as possible. But I'm just curious, because and the only reason I'm bringing that up is because, you know, the whole conversation that with yesterday with Josh with the retweet and all that, and it came out. But it's, you know, to me, it's a unique art style, and I was just like, man, I would love to see that type of stuff eventually, hopefully, come out of Atooi, because I think that's stuff that Jules can bring out. It's just a matter of he's got to get to that point. And
yeah, it's interesting, actually. You know, even as you reference that, one of the things that my brain was kind of brought to was the Mega Man 11 reveal from Capcom recently, right? That's a different art style, but it can be a different art style. But does it feel like Mega Man, right? And that's the thing.
That's the hard thing.
That's the hard thing, right? Because the feeling is associated with X amount of bits, how it looks, that it has a weightiness to it, right? So if all of a sudden you've redesigned it, you've up-designed a character based on graphics, but now the feel is different, then what you're losing that up to nostalgia.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's where people are like, no, this isn't me. I mean, you know, we could argue that Mighty Number 9 is a great example of that, right? It's chasing nostalgia, complete miss, right? Same with ukulele in some ways, right? From what I'm understanding of it. So it's a challenging thing, right? I think, and again, if you're a small studio, where do you put time and resources?
And here's another interesting thing that I wonder, because a lot of people complained about Super Challenge, that it was too hard, right?
It's hard. It is hard.
Trust me, it is balls hard. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I totally admit that. Jules will tell you it's balls hard. Like, he's the one that said that to me, and that's where I stole that catchphrase.
Well, he is the creator.
Yeah, he's the creator. But my thing is like, he even put a death counter in there to count like how many times you die and stuff. But my question is like, why do we love Super Meat Boy, which is the same thing? It's hard as hell, but then we and I don't say we, because we bought the games. You know what I mean? Like, why as fans do they reject certain games and love other games when it's basically the same premise in theory? They're both platformers and they're both very difficult.
Right. I mean, you're at Twitch-based platform level execution, right? Single pixel success. The reason is when you get into something like a Super Meat Boy, right? You already expect to die easily, right? Yeah. You have saws that are zipping around, right? You have got blood all over the spot, and you die and you come back very quickly to it, right? Yeah. So you're kind of already like your expectation is met. Whereas something where Mutant Muds, it's kind of a what I would call like PG-13 kind of approach, where the danger's there, but it doesn't really feel dangerous. So you're like, oh, I've been gaming for 35 years. I can do this, you son of a bitch, right? And all of a sudden you're dying every time. I know that Toby mentioned that ice mechanic. Yeah, that ice mechanic's deadly.
Oh, it's horrible, man. You just keep sliding. Right? It's like
and the floating, the freaking floating.
Where you can't repower up it.
Or no, the platforms that like jump in, jump out,
God,
the timing of those sometimes, I was like, why am I dying?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, playing Mutant Muds myself a couple times, I was like, am I this bad at video games? Like, there's no way I'm this bad. Like,
I'll give you a little sneak peek. So Toby is going to have a new video series coming out, right? It should be coming out very soon. It should be out this week or next week. But in it, he plays Mutant Muds. and he's playing, and he's dying and dying and dying in the same spot, right? But the funny thing, and it's a platform. He can't hit the platform right, and he's going through the platform, and he's hitting the spikes, and then he jumps and gets it, but then misses, and then falls through and hits the spikes, and it's like, I've been there. And he's getting frustrated. I'm laughing hysterically as I'm watching, because I'm like, everybody that's played this game has been here. Yeah. This is it. And when you watch it, you realize he's thinking like, okay, and it's funny because he's coming out of the death and he's going, okay, I got it this time. I'm like, no, you don't. Boom, he dies. And then he's like, why do I keep doing this?
We did a quick footage on our channel as well for the Mutant Mud Super Challenge, and I played it, and like by the time I was like 10 lives, I'm like, yeah, I'm done. Like because I'm sure everyone's pulling their hair watching me do it. Yeah. Speaking of Jules and kind of some of the leaderboards added to it, I obviously I have Jules on my Switch as a friend, which is great. So on my leaderboards it shows up. I went into like the Mutant blocks, and he was like listed as like number 85, and I was like number 9. I was like, yes, I am beating the developer at their own game. I feel accomplished. Yeah, I was going to take a screenshot and send that out. But I was like,
close to taking him on World 1-1. And I was in the mix. At one point, I was number 14 in the world. And I was like, feel like I was pounding my chest. I was number 3 of all my friends. And I was like, I feel this. I love this. And then within a week, I'm like down to like 20-something or so. And it's because people are just figuring it out.
Mark Carabin was about, I think, 3 or 4 points ahead of me. So I was like, I'm going to get ahead of Mark, and then I'm going to trash talk both of them. And then I couldn't do it. So.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah, shout out to Mark. So, yeah. I don't know. What else you got for us here, Barry? You've
what else you got?
This podcast meeting of Minds. What else do you got?
Well, I see you just plugged whatever crap that you have, but only messing.
We got 7 minutes, and I gotta go. So you got 7 minutes of me. What do you need from me?
Everything, Bobby. You need everything.
I don't think you want that. Trust me.
I will call Tony on you, and I will get everything off you.
I don't think so. I doubt that.
No, take your top off. I'm only messing.
You don't know.
I know Justin will anyway.
Is that me? I just assumed it's just my top's coming off. Like the inaugural podcast for
exactly.
The really unfortunate part about that is like the amount of videos that I put up on our channel, and this one person always comes on and says, "Woohoo! Take your shirt off!" And it's like every video I put up, and it's like,
"Woohoo! Take your shirt off!"
Yeah, I was like, I just feel like now I'm just being eye candy.
You feel exposed, do you?
Just eye candy. Nothing but a hunk of hairy meat is what that is.
Bobby, I had a go with this hunk of hairy meat in Dublin there not too long ago.
I sure did now, yeah.
Okay, first off, what the hell happened to you, dude?
What?
Which one of us?
Barry.
Yeah.
Oh.
What happened to you, dude?
I was born.
No, you're falling apart, dude. There's like nothing to you anymore.
Oh, right, yeah, I've lost loads of weight.
Yeah, no kidding, dude. What the hell? Like, I'm looking at these pictures. I'm like, who the hell's that guy?
I know, right? Would have been nice if he was a little bit more.
Because here's the thing. I used to look at you before, and I used to think you were kind of built.
No, you weren't. Not built. I was heavy.
Yeah. You were. You didn't look it. You held it very well. Yeah. I must say, you held it well.
There's no big double chin anymore. Okay, look. Okay. Next week, no, I'll tell you this, Bobby. Seriously, it's something like next week. I will post an image of me topless, okay, from last year and this year, my body, just show you the difference, like.
Okay, yeah.
Of how much weight I lost.
Yeah, it's mad when you see him in person. I'm like, dear Lord, you're,
Yeah, dude, I'm like,
a lot thinner than I
saw
thought.
them. Yeah, I saw them pictures. I'm like, dude, is he sick? Like, did he get sick? And like, I didn't know this. Like, what the hell?
Did he transfer the weight from himself to Justin in the same photo? What the happened?
Trust me, I've been finding your weight all over the place, man. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yo, guys, I'm curious. Some experiment. If we did like We Fit, does that really work? So believe it or not, I did a large weight loss. I lost about 65 to 70 pounds in a year, and I used We Fit as my checkpoint every single. I think it was twice a week. And that was part of my routine schedule. I mean, I remember once like watching the We Fit guy, and they were like, "You're obese," and like, yeah,
sad. And I was like, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel good. So that actually motivated me to start doing exercise and getting fit. And then every Tuesday and every Friday, I would wake up early before my shower, go downstairs, weigh myself. And so like I did this for almost a year of this. And that itself wasn't, getting me outside and exercising, but that was what I was using as my measurement stick for everything. Cause it kept the log, right? It kept the log, it gave you kind of that feedback. You knew how you were doing, had goals of like, hey, this much closer to this. So I used it that way, and I thought it was really quite effective actually. And even when I was like gaining a little bit of weight to kind of see it go back on, I was like, oh, that's not cool. So it was actually for me a very good visualized tool.
What I thought was really good was We Fit You, and because it started to pit you against friends, and you could see like, hey, your friend walked this far today, and it would like, oh, I gotta beat him now.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that wasn't the original version because the heat was on the first version. The second version, nobody really cared about.
Well, it's because it was the Wii, right? No. The Wii. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But that's, if they would have had that on the Wii, I think people would have really.
See, I almost wonder, like, I think they have, with the mobile market that they're into right now, like they have a bit of a market there they could corner, right? Because imagine if Mario Run was really Mario Run, right? And you have to do some kind of exercise or something to kind of like fuel that. I mean, again, Pokemon Go is a great example of this. They put out a press release a couple months ago about how many kilometers trainers have walked around the world or whatever it is,
crazy,
right? And I remember the first week or two that was out, every morning I was getting up and walking 3 kilometers to catch Pokemon, right? Could you do something like that in augmented reality with some kind of Nintendo functionality? Just the impact.
Yeah, kind of cool.
Yeah, Bobby, I was about maybe 15 stone at least last January.
I speak English, man.
Okay, what's 15?
Don't ask me. I'm Canadian. I've got a whole different.
I think every stone.
Let me check for you now. Don't we check pounds or?
While he's doing that, Bobby, where can people find all the stuff that you do on the internet?
Okay, so I am on youtube.com/Nintendo Guru. You can also find me on Instagram and Twitter at Nintendo Gurus. How about you, Justin? Where are you?
That's a great question. Thanks, Bobby. I appreciate that. Yeah, I host a program called Nintendo Dads. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and any place you can catch your podcast. We're also found on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and we do have a YouTube channel as well where we do Let's Plays and unboxings. And we just put up a video today of our hands-on with Super Meat Boy Forever in tabletop mode, and interviewing the developers of the game Tommy. So check that one out as well. But that's what we do. So what is 15 stone there, Barry?
Okay, 15 stone is 210 pounds.
There you go.
Okay, and I'm just over 12 stone, which is 168 pounds.
So
they lost a lot.
Yeah, no, but see, the thing is, I'm not actually doing like loads of, I guess fitness. Like I'm just walking around the block. It's about 20-minute walk. I'm drinking loads of water every day, less, dairy, less milk, and I don't take as much Diet Coke anymore. Yeah. Fizzy drinks.
And that was the thing that I found when I did my weight loss, is it was not like a huge like lifestyle, like I'm going to change everything in the world. It was really minor. Like it was, I'm going to stop drinking pops. I'm going to drink water, and I'm going to make sure that I get 20 minutes of exercise every day. Yeah. And just by and also just being a little bit smarter of like, what am I eating? Yeah. Right. So like if I go to McDonald's, do I need it supersized? No. Right. You do. Just those, I mean, in America, supersize is just they bring you just.
They eliminated. That's gone now. We can't do that no more. It's done, man. You can't do that no more.
Really?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So isn't that just in?
I went in one day, right? So here's the fat bastard that's me. So I go into one day, right? And I pull up to the drive-thru, and I'm like, can I get a large fry? And then and I'm like, can I get an extra large fry? Meaning like an additional large fry. And she goes, we don't do extra large fries anymore. And I'm like, no, I don't mean like an extra large. Like I know you don't do that no more. I mean, I just want a second one. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, no problem. Like,
why can't you just say 2 large fries?
Well, because I don't know why I did it that way. Yeah. I know I could have, but I was, because no. This is why. Because I ordered a meal. And I said I wanted large. Yeah. And then I was like, can I get an extra large fry? Meaning,
But like, let's also be honest though, like as a Canadian who has lived in Ireland and has traveled to the Americas a lot, your guys' portion control is a bit mad, Bobby.
It's horrible, man.
Like when I go to Kansas City, I leave sweating barbecue sauce. Right? Like it's unreal. Like it's like there's no reason you should be that much food.
Well, even Well, here's the thing. Like so a lot of European now because I'm kind of international and I have a lot of international friends.
I love it when someone says,
like me,
I'm international now.
Yeah,
I'm foreign too.
Yeah, okay.
I stay in New Jersey, but I'm international. No, like when people come over to Disney, right? And they'll be like, "Oh my God, you guys eat way too much." Like even when you order something in a restaurant and they bring it to you, it's so much stuff on the plate. And it's like there's hardly. That's why like when I go to like a fufu, I call it a fufu restaurant, like real like fancy type stuff.
Yeah, well, you got.
And they bring these little they bring these little portions. I'm like, the hell is this, man? What am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah,
Floss my teeth? Like, come on, dude, this is nothing. But yeah, it's bad in the United States. Like,
it's definitely not that way in at least in Ireland. The same. Well, but here in Ireland though, they just give you potatoes for everything.
But in Ireland, in Europe, basically, that's what the feeling is like everything's smaller portions.
Yeah.
They don't, you know what I mean? Like, I'll eat, like, if I go to the restaurant and I get, like, chicken parm, it's, like, 2 big pieces of chicken, like, legit, like, a big thing of pasta, tomato sauce, cheese, all that, and I'm like, I'll eat the whole plate. And the plates are, like, literally, like, this big, man. They're big plates where you guys are probably a little bit smaller plates.
Yep.
A little bit smaller portions. I heard a trick one time. If you're wanting to do portion control, just start using smaller plates.
Small plates.
Correct.
Yeah.
This way you look like you're eating a lot.
Yeah.
You trick your mind. You look like you're eating a lot, but because that's really all you need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the problem. In America, we look at it and go, I don't want to waste that. I can't leave all this food here. I got to eat it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my wife drives me crazy because we'll go to a restaurant and like she'll leave half the crap on the plate, and I'm like, dude, I'm paying for that. Like, what are you doing? Like, take it home.
You know, the other thing that's the worst that is not good for your diet, children. Because children will order food and they won't eat it, and then you're like, to your point, sure, now we're just wasting that. No, dad'll finish your crisps. I'll have 3 bites of your burger. No, I'll have some of your ice cream. And then you're like, why did I just, like, I've gotten to a point where I go to places with my wife. I'll order the kids' food, I'll order my wife food, and I'll order myself like something real small.
Yeah.
Because the reality is I'm going to be eating half that burger here in a couple minutes from now, right? Like it's a bit mad. So
that's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Thanks for tuning in for the first episode of Barry's podcast and the Food Basic Diet Tips from Bobby Pauls, Justin Masson, and Barry Dunn.
That actually would be interesting. Like, no, like a funny, like a food YouTube show, like from a gamer perspective. Considering most gamers are fat bastards, like.
No kidding.
Like, like couch potatoes, yeah.
Yeah, no kidding, dude. Listen, my wife, this is no lie. So for Christmas, because I told Tony, I'm like, I'm starting a diet on January 1st. And I did. Stuck right to it, and I jumped on a diet a couple days ago. So, but she goes, what do you want as dessert for Christmas? I'm like, oh, you better make a Reese's peanut butter cake. And she's like, okay. So, dude, she makes a cake, like a full cake, chocolate icing, right? The middle icing is peanut butter mixed with chocolate icing to make it like a thick peanut butter icing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Reese's peanut butter cups sprinkled throughout the middle of the cake and then on top of it. Dude,
I just want a big glass of milk right now is all I want.
So I look at it, right? This is no lie. I look at it and I go, you do not serve that on Christmas night. Christmas Eve, Christmas dinner, after dinner, you don't serve that. She goes, why? And I go, because nobody will appreciate it. They'll waste it, and that's all cake that I could be eating later. I'm like, you do not give it to anybody. And she goes, what are you talking? I'm like, every word that people are going to say is, it's too rich. Too rich means you don't like it. So just give it to me. You know what I mean? Like, it's too, rich makes me too thick.
Yeah.
I'm like, give it to me. I'll eat it. One person ate half of it. It was like, oh, this is a little too rich for me. And I looked at my wife. Yeah, I looked at my wife and I go, see, you gave it away. Only one person. I ate the whole thing, dude.
Now, Bobby, can I ask you this here? Do you eat much pizza?
Oh my god, dude, that's my favorite food.
Yeah, see, that was my problem. I haven't had pizza, or I think it's called in America. Is it glucosade? Does he have or?
What?
No, I don't know what it's called in America. No, it's basically like a glucose drink. Glucosade. It's called Lucozade here in Ireland.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Gatorade. I think it is.
Gatorade. Gatorade is what it would be.
I haven't had Gatorade or pizza since last January.
I don't know that I can give up pizza, man.
That really helps, big time.
Dude.
Yeah. Again, I think and you use the word diet, Bobby. I hate the word diet because I think that indicates like a diet has a beginning, middle, and end. Right? It's a defined time.
I want it to end. I don't want to. I don't want to not eat pizza for the rest of my life.
What I'm saying though is it's just minor lifestyle adjustments.
Stop it.
Minor lifestyle adjustments.
No, I want to go back to
PR spin is what that is.
Justin's add just mints. No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, even when I saw you up in Gamerfest in Galway and Dublin, like you were really quite cautious of what you were eating. I of course had like crisps and goujons and just
what was it I had? Just chips was it I had?
You had some taco chips.
It wasn't taco chips. No, you had the bloody taco. You had.
That's right.
I had chips and a couple of goujons as well and some curry sauce on top. But that was all I had.
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point where like I eat eggs for breakfast, and then if I eat lunch, it's very light. I'll eat like chicken, and then I'm gonna go cook chicken in a few minutes. So I'm like, I'm done, guys. I gotta go. I'm gonna go cook some chicken for dinner.
Gotta go cook some chicken.
Yeah, I'm getting hungry. I'm about to flip the desk over here because you guys are dragging on about food, and I'm like, Urgh.
Okay, we'll end there, right?
Dinner already.
It's 11 o'clock. I'm going to bed after this.
Yeah, it is 11.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. We'll wrap it up there, will we? Let's chicken wrap it up there, will we? Yeah.
Yeah. Chicken, and all wraps back to Chicken Wiggle.
Yeah.
Chicken Wiggle, Chicken Wrap.
Chicken Wiggle is coming to Switch in a future near you, hopefully.
That you said that today, Barry Dunn on January 3rd has been quoted, and blessed shall not become true.
Well, according to my image, it might.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
so or not, Bobby. Barry, this is your show. What should people be doing? Do you have an outro for this yet?
Well, yeah. Well, I guess it's the same as always. Just a podcast. But, okay, but I guess in terms of what Sean said or Toby said, thank you everybody for coming on, kind of thing. And to quote Bobby here, that is all. See you guys later.
Bye-bye.
Peace out, Preston.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
No problem. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? You bring me on. I'm like...